Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and especially in this case for tonight's member stream, good evening, and welcome one and all to the member stream for this Saturday, September 21st, 2024. Yes, this is a later than usual member stream. We usually have them at 2 p.m. Eastern Time. However, I went with my sisters to the movies this afternoon to go see the documentary about Christopher Reeve called Superman, a Christopher Reeve Story. And unfortunately, I didn't record any out of the theater video, but I'm going to let you all know about it. Now, this documentary, which is a Fathom event, is out for a limited engagement. Now, in some theaters, it's playing tonight and also on Wednesday. But in my area, it was only playing this afternoon at 4 p.m. Eastern, and then the next showing was at 7 p.m. Eastern. And this movie goes through different points of Christopher Reeve's life. It talks about his previous relationship with, well, she was never really his wife, but the mother of his two children. And it also talks about and goes through his marriage with Dana Reeve, who was his wife and the mother to his third child, and talks about how he began as an actor, his family life, and of course going to the Juilliard School of Acting in New York, and being friends with Robin Williams, and going for the role of Superman when the movie was being made, and of course it was released back in 1978 to great success, to no one's surprise, and it Superman, that first 1978 Superman movie was one of my favorites. And to see some of the behind the scenes footage that they included in the documentary and how certain scenes were done, how the flying sequences were done that they showed, it was really amazing. But what was truly amazing about this documentary about the late Christopher Reeve is just, him and his life, whether it be with his family, whether it be with his late wife, Dana, going through all the events, including the 1995 accident where he was unfortunately paralyzed from the neck down, and chronicling everything he went through with that by going through rehabilitation. And there were times where he just felt miserable and useless, and he had people around him encouraging him. It had interviews in there with his half brother and his other brother in the film, of course, his three children, and also different actors and political figures who got to know Christopher Reeve, and also tried to help get certain acts passed as far as doing research when it comes to complete paralysis. And it also talks about how the efforts that Christopher Reeve and others started are now showing the fruits of everybody's hard work, because some people who were originally told they were completely paralyzed, it shows in the documentary those same people able to walk again. Of course, it also goes through his struggles after the accident, and also the fact that Dana never gave up hope, even though she was juggling taking care of him and also their young son Will at the time. And how the family was dealing with it, how his former partner and mother to his other two children dealt with it, and it's just something I am very happy that I went and saw. And it's unfortunate something like this only has a limited engagement, with it being 2 days in certain areas, today and Wednesday. And like I said earlier, in my area's case, we only had 1 day with two showings. So went and saw it today, and I highly recommend it. And if you get a chance to watch it, whether it be on a streaming service, whether you rent it, whether you have HBO Max, because I would hope that at some point it does get released to HBO Max. But I would hope that when it does, that people actually do sit down and watch it. And I wouldn't say that our auditorium was packed, but it had a good amount of people in to see it. And yes, there were parts of it where I heard people sniffling, and I'm not ashamed to admit it, especially when it showed the Superman scenes. There were times where, you know, I got a little choked up because, you see how active he was before the accident, whether it be horseback riding, whether it be out with his family, swimming, playing tennis, what have you. And, you know, just the effect this had on him, had on his friends, had on his family, how, Robin Williams himself was there to lift his spirits. And there is one particular interview in the documentary where Glenn Close says that she believes if Christopher Reeve hadn't passed away, that maybe perhaps Robin Williams would still be with us. But again, I would highly recommend you watch this. And if you're not able to get out to the theater to see it, again, wait for it to come out to streaming, whether you rent it, whether you watch it on HBO Max. Hopefully, that's where they're going to have it, since it was an HBO documentary and done by Warner Brothers and Fathom Events. But that's no guarantee. But again, I would highly recommend this if you're looking for something excellent to watch, because that's exactly what this was. And if I'm going to give this a rating, I'm giving it an 8.5 out of 10. And the reason why I'm giving it an 8.5 out of 10 is because I wanted to see more. Because the time of this movie, and that's the runtime, it's not very long, but at an hour and 44 minutes, I've could have sat there for another 20, 25 minutes. It wouldn't have bothered me. That's how much I loved it. And of course, this movie also shows different interviews he did, with Johnny Carson on the Tonight Show, and then him appearing at the 1996 Oscars ceremony and being on stage. But, you know, this is definitely something anybody should watch. They're not going to be disappointed.